What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, and man, oh man, do we have a game to talk about today. The Western Conference Finals kicked off with an absolute bang, and if Game 1 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves is anything to go by, we are in for an incredible series. The energy in the arena was electric, and both teams came out ready to leave it all on the floor. But as the final buzzer sounded, it was OKC who made the bigger statement, taking a crucial 1-0 lead. Today, we're diving deep into this thrilling matchup. From suffocating defense to superstar performances, or lack thereof, there's so much to unpack. We'll be looking at everything from OKC's defensive masterclass to the struggles of Minnesota's main man, Anthony Edwards. Let's get right into it. Alright, let's kick things off with my first major takeaway, and it can be summed up in 4 simple letters: OKCD. The Oklahoma City Thunder have quietly built one of the most formidable defensive units in the entire league. In Game 1, they put on an absolute clinic, especially in that pivotal second half. The Timberwolves came out strong in the first half, but the Thunder cranked up the defensive intensity after halftime. They held Minnesota to just 40 points in the entire second half. That's not just good defense, that's championship-level suffocation. You could see the frustration mounting for the Timberwolves. Passing lanes that were open in the first half suddenly vanished. Drives to the basket were met with multiple bodies, and open looks from three-point range became incredibly scarce. OKC's rotations were crisp, their closeouts were aggressive, and they just didn't give Minnesota an inch of breathing room. It was a collective effort, with every player on the court locked in and committed to getting stops. A huge part of that defensive dominance was the individual brilliance of Jalen Williams. He was an absolute menace in the passing lanes, racking up an incredible 5 steals. Each one of those steals felt like a dagger, often leading to easy transition points for the Thunder. OKC, as a team, forced 19 turnovers throughout the game. You simply cannot give a team as talented as the Thunder that many extra possessions and expect to win. OKC made them pay dearly for every single mistake, converting those miscues into a whopping 31 points. The communication on defense was also a standout factor. You could see players pointing, calling out screens, and switching seamlessly. When you have that level of cohesion on the defensive end, it makes it incredibly difficult for an offense to find any rhythm. Minnesota tried to run their sets, but OKC was often a step ahead, blowing up plays before they could even develop. This wasn't just about individual talent, it was about a system working to perfection. The Timberwolves looked increasingly rattled as the second half wore on. They were forced into tough shots late in the shot clock, and their offensive flow completely evaporated. This comprehensive defensive effort was the foundation of their Game 1 victory. It set the tone and showed Minnesota exactly what they're up against. If they can maintain this level of defensive intensity throughout the series, it's going to be a very tough road for the Timberwolves. This was a statement game from their defense. Now, let's shift our focus to the Minnesota Timberwolves and specifically their superstar, Anthony Edwards. For the Wolves to have a real shot in this series, they absolutely need Ant-Man to be at his explosive, game-changing best. Unfortunately for Minnesota fans, Game 1 saw a surprisingly subdued performance from Edwards. Looking at the box score, Anthony Edwards finished with only 18 points. For a player of Edwards' caliber, especially in a Western Conference Finals game, it's significantly below what the Timberwolves need from him. He's the engine of their offense, the guy they look to when they need a bucket or a big play, and that spark just wasn't there consistently in Game 1. What was particularly concerning was his disappearing act in the fourth quarter. When the game was on the line, Edwards went scoreless. 0 points in the final frame. OKC's defense deserves a lot of credit for that, but you also expect your stars to find a way. The Timberwolves desperately needed one of those signature Anthony Edwards takeover moments. He seemed unable to find his rhythm, and OKC did a fantastic job of making him work for everything. He shot 6 for 16 from the field, which isn't terrible, but he also had 4 turnovers. The Thunder were clearly keying in on him, sending multiple defenders his way. This defensive attention is something he's going to see all series long. Perhaps it was just an off night, but it was an off night the Timberwolves couldn't afford. The ripple effect of Edwards not being at his best is significant for Minnesota. When he's struggling to score or create, it puts a lot more pressure on the rest of the team to pick up the slack. Karl Anthony Towns had a decent game offensively, but without Edwards consistently drawing double teams, the Wolves' offense can become stagnant and predictable. It's crucial for Minnesota that Edwards finds a way to bounce back in Game 2. They need him to be aggressive, to attack the basket, and to put pressure on the OKC defense. He's shown he can rise to the occasion before, and the Wolves will be counting on him to do just that. His response in Game 2 will be one of the biggest storylines to watch. Alright, let's move on to our third key takeaway, and this one focuses on the battle down low, in the paint. In Game 1, it was abundantly clear that Oklahoma City's big men, particularly Chetholmgren, were more than up to the task. Chetholmgren was absolutely fantastic. The rookie sensation played with a poise and effectiveness that belied his experience. He was a force on both ends of the floor, showcasing his unique skill set. Offensively, he was efficient, scoring crucial buckets and stretching the floor. But it was his overall impact that really stood out. The box score tells part of the story. Chetholmgren was a major factor. They were active on the glass, provided solid rim protection, and contributed timely scoring. On the other side of the court, Rudy Gobert, the multi-time Defensive Player of the Year, was surprisingly ineffective. He finished with just 2 points and 3 rebounds in 21 minutes of play. Gobert seemed to struggle with OKC's offensive schemes and the versatility of players like Holmgren. When Holmgren stepped out to shoot, it pulled Gobert away from the basket, opening up driving lanes for OKC's guards. This disparity in frontcourt production was a huge swing factor. OKC was getting valuable contributions from their bigs, while Minnesota wasn't getting nearly enough from their primary interior presence. Chet Holmgren, in particular, looked incredibly comfortable on the big stage. He wasn't just a defensive anchor, he was a legitimate offensive threat. The Timberwolves need to find a way to get more out of Rudy Gobert. Game 1 showed that OKC's modern, versatile bigs, led by the impressive Chet Holmgren, are more than capable of holding their own. Our fourth key takeaway from Game 1 revolves around the offensive brilliance of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. While SGA is known for his silky smooth jumpers and crafty finishes, it was his incredible ability to draw fouls and get to the free throw line that truly frustrated the Minnesota Timberwolves. Shai had what some might consider a relatively off-shooting night by his incredibly high standards, going 8 for 21 from the field. But here's the genius of SGA. He doesn't let a tough shooting night take him out of the game. Instead, he finds other ways to score and impact the offense, and his primary weapon in Game 1 was his uncanny knack for getting to the charity stripe. He lived at the free throw line, and it was a major source of frustration for the Wolves defenders. Consider this. Shai took 14 free throw attempts in the game, and impressively, 13 of those came in the first half alone. That is a staggering number and speaks to his aggressive mindset and his mastery of drawing contact. The Timberwolves, time and time again, fell into his traps, reaching in or making contact on his drives. This constant parade to the free throw line served multiple purposes for OKC. Firstly, it provided easy points. SGA is an excellent free throw shooter. He made 11 of his 14 attempts, so these were high-percentage scoring opportunities. Secondly, it put immense pressure on Minnesota's key defenders. When you're constantly worried about fouling, it can make you a half-step slow or less aggressive in your contests. Thirdly, getting to the line allowed him to stay in rhythm and maintain his offensive confidence even when his jumpers weren't dropping. The Timberwolves looked visibly frustrated by SGA's ability to draw these fouls. This also speaks to OKC's offensive game plan. They clearly wanted to attack Minnesota's defense, get into the paint, and force the issue. For Minnesota, adjusting to this in Game 2 is paramount. Our fifth key takeaway from Game 1 isn't just about what happened, but what's next for the Minnesota Timberwolves. After being outplayed in the second half, Minnesota needs significant adjustments. Game 2 tests their resilience and adaptability. They must handle Oklahoma City's suffocating defense better. Their offense became stagnant and turnover-prone. They need better spacing, ball movement, and shot quality. More off-ball movement and quicker decisions are crucial. They can't let OKC dictate the game. Getting Anthony Edwards more involved is key. The coaching staff must free him up and boost his confidence. They need more from their supporting cast. Karl Anthony Towns needs to step up. The bench must outplay OKC's reserves. Rudy Gobert's impact is crucial. They need to make him more effective. Offensively, get him easier looks. Defensively, utilize his shot blocking better. Address the turnover issue immediately. 19 turnovers leading to 31 points for OKC is unsustainable. The mental aspect is huge. They must maintain belief and focus for Game 2. Game 2 will be telling, and I can't wait to see their response. And that officially wraps up our deep dive into the 5 key takeaways from that electrifying Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. What a start to the series, huh? From OKC's incredible defensive stand that really set the tone in the second half, to Anthony Edwards' uncharacteristically quiet night, and the fascinating battle of the bigs where Chetholmgren truly shined, there was so much to analyze. Plus, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander once again proved why he's an MVP candidate, finding ways to dominate even when his shot wasn't falling, largely by living at the free throw line. It's clear that the Thunder came in with a fantastic game plan and executed it to near perfection, especially on the defensive end. For the Timberwolves, Game 1 serves as a tough lesson, and the pressure is now on them to make significant adjustments heading into Game 2. How will they counter OKC's defense? How will they get Anthony Edwards going? These are the big questions, and the answers will likely shape the trajectory of this entire series. I'm already excited for what's next. Thank you all so much for tuning in and breaking down this game with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What were your biggest takeaways from Game 1? Who do you think needs to step up in Game 2? Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed the breakdown, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming analysis as this incredible playoff journey continues.